Hi, I'm Katie Spica, and I'm the CEO of Spica Design and Manufacturing. I want to welcome you to our Heights of Safety event in the Spica Knowledge Center's Spica Speaker Series. Today, we're fortunate to have two subject matter experts join us to talk about industrial safety, and specifically about safety and maintenance of electric buses. Our guests are from the city of Tallahassee, and we are delighted to have them with us. Mike Vaughn is a lead supervisor for the StarMetro Transit Maintenance Department. He has over 27 years of automotive experience and knowledge. Mike followed in his father's footsteps, dabbling in amateur auto racing, and further refined his automotive knowledge while attending Automotive Technical School in Tallahassee, Florida. He then gained valuable experience at the local Chevrolet dealership and went on to become a Chevrolet and ASE Master Certified Technician. After 12 years of dealership service, he transitioned and evolved into a leadership role at the City of Tallahassee Fleet Division. Mike has worked and supervised the police department, heavy equipment department, and now the transit department repair facilities for the City of Tallahassee Fleet Maintenance Division for the past 16 years. Mike Vaughn is a loving husband of 26 years and a proud father of two amazing children. Mike, welcome to our event.
Thank you.
Yes.
Nice to be here.
Our second featured speaker is Dan Dombrowski. Dan is a safety specialist at the City of Tallahassee. He started his career in the U.S. Air Force, doing aviation maintenance for more than 20 years, and last serving as U.S. Air Force First Sergeant, 5th Special Operations Squadron, before he moved to the MRO industry and began specializing in safety, and he says he loves it. Dan is an OSHA authorized safety trainer in both general and construction industries for 10 and 30-hour classes. Each year, Dan provides over 4,000 hours of OSHA training and other safety training as needed. Besides being an OSHA authorized trainer, Dan has a certificate from Georgia Tech in General Industry Health and Safety, the NFPA 70E electrical certificate, and the Six Sigma Yellow Belt. He was recently certified by the Board of Certified Safety Professionals as an Associate Safety Professional. Dan has been instrumental in the City of Tallahassee gas utility, receiving 4 national safety awards given each year by American Public Gas Association. Dan, welcome.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you two join us for the program. We also today have Tom Spica, the founder of Spica Design and Manufacturing, with us, and our Chief Innovation Officer.
Hi there.
And Becky Spica, who is the Director of Sales and Marketing here.
Hello.
And today we're fortunate to see a fun picture of the new Spica platform. These guys are just getting put together. Let's jump on into some questions about safety and maintenance of these electric buses. So Mike, could you provide some background about the City of Tallahassee's foray into sustainable buses, including electric buses, in the context of your function?
Absolutely. So the City of Tallahassee passed a clean energy resolution in 2019. This committed our government to a 100% renewable energy goal by the year 2050. And StarMetro fixed route fleet vehicles to 100% electric by 2035. Currently, StarMetro and Florida State University operate the largest electrical fleet on the college campus in Florida. We are using this as a template to assist us moving forward. So we're kind of engaged in this now, and we have to go full bore. And we're using this as really a template of what to do and not to do and how to move forward.
Great. Dan, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I've been excited watching Mike work through the process of going all electric, and we're all excited here with the city.
Awesome.
So if I may, Mike, when did you guys get your first electric bus then?
2012.
Okay.
2012, we got 3 buses. In 2013, we received 2 buses. We still have them here. We were number 7, 8, and 9, if I'm not mistaken, out of the Proterra plant.
Oh, wow.
First ones in Florida up until last year with electric buses. So,
wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we sort of engaged in this many years ago. We had the idea to move this direction, and now that we've been implemented with this resolution, it's kind of natural for us to follow and progress.
Yeah. So you're truly leading the state of Florida with this then. You're kind of paving the way.
We absolutely did. We received a lot of calls and a lot of questions about how to move forward and how we transitioned into where we're at today. And currently we have 19 buses,
Wow.
full electric.
It's fantastic.
Mike, I got a quick question. It seems that the U.S. is really lagging far behind a lot of the rest of the world, particularly China, when it comes to electric mass transit and buses. Do you see that really ramping up in the near future to where more and more cities will commit to the electric bus fleets?
Yes, we're already seeing it. We're seeing Jacksonville. We saw Tampa has one, Jacksonville, Gainesville, Miami has an order. We've got 5 manufacturers now building buses. One of the top builders, Gillig Bus Manufacturing, they just put out their first electric bus, and Gainesville has one. Actually, they have 3, if I'm not mistaken. We just got to preview it last week.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
yeah, I do see the industry is going that way.
So on that note, as cities start transitioning to electric buses, what are the infrastructure changes that you guys had to address in maintenance of these new pieces of equipment?
So there's a couple of main keys here. One of them is charging buses. The charger size, location, parking, all of this has to be, you have to look at this for infrastructure. You're not used to having to run power in the middle of your parking lot. So you have to look at what the size is, what kind of power you can get into it, what can you afford, what we're going to need for the future. A lot of this is planning, but we have to work with our planning on route planning, training mechanics, drivers, recovery. First responders has been a new thing that we had to get trained. Special tools and equipment, non-conductive tools with extra fall protection, scaffolding, which you guys have kindly provided us. Software, lifting equipment. We've also engaged in a few studies to assist us with what the future will need to make a curve for us. We're going to have to go with 67 buses in the next 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite a transition.
Yeah. So Dan, Mike touched on a lot of it, but is there more you want to say about the safety perspective of this transition? Seems pretty involved in from a safety side.
From the safety transition, the obvious thing is that we're going away from internal combustion engines to electricity. So, we have to look at what kind of current are we carrying? Is it DC? Is it AC? What do we do for protecting our employees? And, we make those assessments. I work with Mike and his crews, and we match this training to the need. Sometimes we can foresee the need, and then sometimes it just kind of sneaks up on us, and then we have to circle back around and get it fixed if there's a problem. But it's been an interesting travels. For me, I haven't been in the electrical realm of safety as much as others. I mean, that was one of the reasons I went and got my 70E certificate. And, it's a whole nother a world. It's just like when you look at different types of safety aspects to a job, fall protection. That's one of the things that we're excited about, the scaffolding, because it gives us another approach to getting on top of the vehicles and working at a height.
Is that a pretty new requirement with the electric buses? Does that need to get up high, get to the roofs?
Not really. I mean, there's still things that we on the internal combustion buses that we would have to get up on top. Maybe not so much. I mean, Mike can touch on it more than I can, but we still have to get on top of the buses, whether it's an electric bus or not.
Sure.
So currently we have 12 CNG vehicles on site, and the fuel tanks are on the roof, and all the plumbing is on the roof. So there's other advantages to scaffolding. We have fall protection in place. This just adds an extra measure and actually not a little bit, a lot more safer for us to get to the side of the bus instead of going through the roof hatch and then coming up through the middle of the bus.
Sure.
It's just a lot less hazard for us.
Makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And easier access.
Great. So on that note, what makes maintenance of electric buses different from other fleets?
So what really makes it kind of unique is you have to have qualified and trained electronic technicians that understand high voltage components. That's completely different than anything we've had to do before. And not only the components of the bus, but the charging systems, we have to maintain those as well. So we hired an electrician to help us transition, a guy that is very familiar with electricity, not necessarily 12 volts or 24 volts, but a lot larger, 500 volts, 400 volts, something a lot bigger, a lot more hazardous. The technician that understands the drive system, but basically the bus is still the bus. It's just the electricity that makes it a little more difficult and confusing and a lot more training. But that's how what you need is a guy that understands electricity. And that's what we've done.
So then looking at internal training for the rest of your crew to bring them up to speed on the electrical,
Absolutely.
special knowledge they would need.
Manufacturers training, then we outsource some other types of training. Everything run off that bus is off of an electric drive engine or the battery of some sort. So, but the bus is still the bus. The wheels are the wheels, the brakes, the brakes. Suspension, still suspension. So general mechanics can still do those things that they've been trained to do, but we do have 3 or 4 specially trained guys that can assist us. And then they're slowly training the other fellas, their co-workers, in the same manners. And we also do anywhere from 12 to 18 months where we get training and we bring the manufacturers back in to do updates and new hires and things along those lines as well. We don't want to fall behind.
Mike, could you kind of just briefly lay out what your facility looks like and how many buses you have in a maintenance bay at one time? Because I'm assuming we're talking large equipment, that space is going to be at a premium when you're trying to work on these. How many hours of maintenance time is there for every 100 hours of operation, and what's it look like within the facility that's taking care of that?
Well, we have a smaller facility. It's a little outdated. I believe it was built in the 70s or early 80s. We've retrofitted it to the best of our ability to fit the buses that we have, but we currently have 67 fixed route buses. We have about 120 pieces of equipment on site. So the mechanics do everything from the smaller buses to bigger buses to the cars to vans to any type of public transportation that we have at this facility. But our main key for most of the mechanics, our heaviest workload, is our fixed routes. We have 6 bays dedicated to those. Then we have a body shop on site, and we have a tire facility in the same building, as well as a steam wash bay. All of that is encompassed under one roof. And that's what we had in-ground lifts or pits that they would just drive the bus over, and then we could do all the servicing underneath. I'd say 10 or 12 years ago, I don't know the exact time frame, before my time, we transitioned to in-ground lifts, which filled in one of the pits, and that's allowed us to bring this scaffold in and put it on one side. But we do have very limited space. It's very, very tight. And it's just really tight in this building right now. We're looking maybe in the future to go bigger, but for now, this is what we've got. So yes, space is very limited.
We do hear that as a concern all the time. I think in a lot of the maintenance facilities, everybody has buildings that did not anticipate the future, and so they're working with what they got in that limited space.
To talk a little bit more about safety, we've talked about the changes to needing to be able to work with electrical systems. What about any training needed for working at heights? You say, typically you've been doing that already with the the original type of buses, but is there any training needed to be able to work safely up at heights and with cantilevers?
Um, most of what we do initially is that we'll do a new employee training, and then we'll do what we have site specific. So, as we get a new piece of equipment, we'll train to that. So the cantilevers, we'll do some homework and we'll train to, what our need is and what we need to express to the employees. And it's a work in progress continuously. It's not, one and done, or, we do it and forget about it. It's one of those things that we'll do a training, and then, I'll get feedback from Mike or some of the other supervisors, or even feedback right after the training to, to see if maybe they wanted more, employees. I learn so much from the employees when I do a training. They'll let me know if I've forgotten something or if they want to know more. So it's one of those things that I prepared to the best of my ability to give them the information that I can research and find either through the manufacturer or the there's a couple of different places we can go. Manufacturer, we'll go to best industry practices. We can go to OSHA, NIOSH, and we can put together a program. But I always find that I end up tailoring it in the end to the situation at hand. I'm super stoked and excited about the scaffolding. I think it's got some advantages to us in the fact that, like Mike was saying, we can get alongside the vehicle much easier. It's easier access. We don't have to go through the hatch through the center of the vehicle. It just it really presents itself to an easier access to some of the stuff on the vehicle. Now, we still have our lanyards and fall protection that we can go back to if we need to in other bays. So what I really like is it affords us another option. We're not just stuck with the one option. And training is continually updated throughout the facility. Mike stressed earlier that they have a tiny facility, and Mike's doing a super job keeping, a lot of the clutter down. Everything has its place, and it's kept in its place, and it's when you start letting stuff get out of control, it can really turn into a housekeeping nightmare. So Mike's doing a real good job with that. Makes my job easier.
Yeah, it's one of the first foundations of safety, right? Keep it clean, keep it organized. Yes. You talked a lot or a couple of times about going to the manufacturers for training. Is that part of the purchase of a new bus? Is that maintenance and safety training to work with them? Is that kind of the part of a package you get when you buy a new bus?
Can be. Yes and no. We have a good manager here that can talk the talk, and generally when they want to sell a bus, that you add that into what's going to be required. We're not just going to buy a bus and then turnkey and walk away. You're going to have to support us. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it's been for some time now, and that's the way it's going to be moving forward. Now, we have paid for training, and we'll continue to pay for training if we need to. But generally, we allow them to come in and teach us the things we need to know first, and we make sure we got our top mechanics involved in that so that they can funnel that information down to newer technicians or lower we use our highest rated technicians first, and we send a good group of guys through that class. Generally, it's anywhere from 2 to 4 days. We actually have a class coming back maybe next week or the week after for the charger infrastructure that's laid out within FSU. We're going to go through some more training, and we haven't had that in about 2 years now. So we're going to go through it again. We got a lot of new folks here, and it's a good refresher, especially if there's been any updates that we'll get to learn. So We do require them before we'll purchase a bus, and they will add that in if they want to sell you a bus. So we make sure that we include that they're going to have to help us.
Sure.
They do, and they will. So far, so good.
So in adopting a new technology like this, you just have to plan on a lot of additional continuing training until it's a little bit more ingrained or
We do.
native to your organization.
Absolutely. And we do. And we find some situations where we may need more training, or we didn't have enough, or we didn't grasp it. And Proterra is a company that we're using right now, and we're on very good terms with them, and they will send a technician to us. At their cost, they'll send a technician to us to help us out if we need them. We've had a good relationship with them. We also have a great relationship with Gillig. We just don't have any Gillig electric buses on the yard, but that's soon to come. I feel like we're soon to be there. But they'll help us just the same. I feel confident that we'll get the help we need to move forward. They're going to want to help us, and we want them to help us because we know we need their help.
Sure. For either of you guys, if you could change one design element in an electric bus, assuming it was feasible, what would you change to make it easier to maintain?
Okay, I have one. The biggest problem is the batteries that they're putting on the roof. That would be the element. Everything that comes with putting a battery on the roof, that is the issue. That's the number one issue. It's a good place for them to put it. It's a good storage area. It's not easy for a technician to get there to work on it. There's some other hazards or other things that come with that mechanical side. Because the battery's on the roof, they have to be cooled. They generate a lot of heat, and they use the cooling system to do so. And now they're forcing the coolant to the roof. And if you have an issue there, then that creates another issue of bleeding air when you're up there on the roof. So there's a lot of little things that come with putting batteries on the roof. It's a great idea from an engineering standpoint, not such a great idea from a technician standpoint.
Sure.
That would be our.
How often do you have to remove a battery pack?
I'd like to say more often than we'd like, but we've probably removed, I would say, half a dozen since 2012. Not as many as I would think, but I would think the old buses, I think we've replaced 3, and the new buses, we've already had to replace 3, but they're 2 years old now. And we've had some issues. We have 15 buses, and the new buses have 3 batteries on each one, 3 battery packs, and the old buses have 4 battery packs on each one.
Okay.
So do you use an overhead crane for lifting those batteries out?
The new buses have been on the bottom that we've replaced them. So actually, all the buses we've removed have been on the bottom. We have not removed the top mounted as of yet. We do have a crane available to us. We also have a forklift available to us, and we have hoists that we've had attached to the roof and the ceiling of the shop, which is how we remove the upper portion of the bus in order to get to the batteries up there, or engine or motors. I think, and we did replace a battery up there because that's why we had to remove the roof of the bus. The back portion of the bus on an old, the back portion of the older Proterra buses, you have to remove the covering to get to it. And we had to pull that off, and we used roof mounted hoists to do that.
Dan, is there anything you would change from a safety perspective?
I have to second, the technician issue, but also I always like to think that the battery technology get better and better, and we can get them smaller and stronger and safer. I mean, if we have a fire or we have a short, then or we have an overheat, like Mike said, we've got some concerns there. And hopefully in the future, as we get smarter with our battery technology, we can have a safer battery up on on our vehicles. There's that give and take with what's our risk tolerance with our batteries, and as we've seen over the years, they're getting better and better quite quickly.
Yeah, it's exciting to see that change.
Yes.
Have there been changes made by the city of Tallahassee for your fleet maintenance because of COVID? And do you see any of those changes continuing once we go a little bit back to normal?
I do have a video pulled up as well. If you wanted to, I think it's 2 minutes, so we can play that if you guys wanted to.
That'd be awesome.
Sure.
From that. Okay, great. Let's.
So we were asked to build barriers to help protect the drivers. And we went out and sourced all local products, and we bought some plexiglass. And those are all the doors that we built to fix to the driver compartment area to help protect them. And this is us building them all at one time. And we had, the whole shop pitched in. We all did it together. That's one that's installed right there. And we put them on swinging hinges, and they close on their own. And we've had to adjust them over time. We've learned from our mistakes and had to go to a thicker glass or different. We call them partition or a driver barrier is what we built. They also sent this very design here out to the entire state of Florida. And now my understanding is they've done this throughout the state of Florida at many transit agencies. But
That's awesome.
But the answer to your question from earlier is we've reduced our patrons that ride buses. Also, we've also had a reduction in hours of operation due to the reduction of patrons driving the buses or riding the buses. And we've also changed our hours of the shop to reflect those hours that the buses are now running. So we don't stay here as long. We stay as long as the drivers stay, and they now go home a little earlier. So our guys go home a little earlier. No, we still all work the same. They just overlap a little bit longer with each other, the two shifts that we carry. And we also have social distancing required within the facility and on public transportation. And if social distancing is not able to be achieved, we're required to mask up. We have instituted extra disinfectant procedures before and after repairs. And we also do the same thing during bus service, as well as we have a cleaning crew come in every night and clean the buses and disinfect them as well. So those are all things that have been implemented. And
You think they're going to continue with such regimented cleaning procedures, over the coming years?
I don't know, Katie. I don't know if we are or we won't. I can see why we would continue. It makes a lot of sense. I don't know if when the costs come back to the facilities, if they're going to be able to incur those extra costs. I'm not sure where we're going. We're assuming at one point in time that we're going to go back to full bus service, and we're all hoping and praying that we can go back to the way life was before. And then our shifts will get back. I won't come in at 5 a.m. anymore. So there's some changes that we're all hoping that we can kind of get back to. And I don't know what the future brings, but I sure hope that we can get it back to where it was.
Yeah, I think a lot of places are struggling with what does it look like when things are normal? How much of this continues and how much can we let go of? And I don't know if there's any good answers at this point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Normal anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
From my aspect, we're here to support Mike. The safety office is part of HR and policy, so we help the department with protocols and policy and how to establish those things within the department. And then Mike called me up the other day and he says, "Hey, we need some more masks." Our department, we have supplies, so whatever Mike might need, whether it's hand sanitizer or mask, and they give us a ring, and we try and support them as indirectly or as directly as they need, whatever they request. So I'm more of a support for Mike and his department in the COVID fight.
Hey, I did forget to mention that we are going to implement UV lights in all the buses.
Oh, wow.
So they'll be sitting inside the return air duct system, and that might eliminate some of this expense. But yes, we have those. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they're ordered and we're waiting on them to be built and installed. It's all going to be done by a company, and then we'll just have to maintain them moving forward. I did forget that that's where we were headed.
That seems like a good solution, much less personnel intensive once it's in place.
Right.
I would have a question for the both of you from a designer's perspective. Um, in regards to platforms like we've furnished, we have different types that are either both sides of your bus or just one side of the bus with a cage enclosing the top and so on. Um, I don't know, are there differences in the different brands of buses that would necessitate or find beneficial to have greater adjustability on the platforms, or what could we as designers do that would make our product more valuable to you, um, overcome any kind of issues that you're finding? And
Um,
in terms of safety, that would make them safer.
That's a good question, Tom. I'm not real sure. I'm thinking once we get to using your equipment a little bit more, that I could probably give you some more feedback as to what we're seeing or what we're tackling. But we basically have used this system due to the adjustability, because we have many different bus sizes in the year, makes, models, the CNG versus an electric bus versus a diesel bus. We can use your system to go up and down. That was a big sell. The other big thing was because of how small our facility is, I can split your system in half, buy an extra staircase, and I can slide it to one half of the shop and the other half of the shop. And now I can work on two buses at the same time with utilizing our fall protection. So that was a big sell for us when we were looking at this system. It was really what sold us on the entire system, quite honestly. And I won't be able to, I don't know that I can give you great feedback on what improvements to make or what we would look for until we can get into it. Usually the more we get into it and the technicians are using it is when we get more feedback of, like to see this change or that change. I can tell you that we had a near miss, what we like to call, right, Mr. Safety Dan?
Yeah, that's right.
A near miss on an electric bus where the battery was up top and we were putting that piece back on the roof. And we were all hooked into harnesses, but we had to almost hang off the side of the bus to put it back together. And that's when we said there's got to be something different to go about putting this stuff. And that's when we found your system. And we did, I think Becky and I have been dealing with each other for 2 years now.
Mhm, yep.
So, and I've researched many different places, many different objects, different things to use, and this seemed like the best situation for what we've got. But that adjustability that you have is the key to the whole system for us. Because when we went out and measured all our buses, the platform that we purchased is the right height for everything we have on the yard now. So what the future brings, I don't know. Hopefully they won't be taller, but they could be shorter. We don't know. We just don't know what we're going to face. Well,
and we have the ability to create extreme range adjustment if needed. So it doesn't add a lot of cost to get that greater adjustability. But
okay.
If it sounds like when you do break them into half, you're still using a fall restraint or a fall arrest system. When on top of the bus, there is the ability to actually have a one side mounted rail system that actually enclose the whole top of the bus, but you would have to only access from one side and you wouldn't have the side platform on the other. But there's so many different versions and ways that we can create those, and getting that kind of feedback from the users is important. That's how we design the better products. So once you do have more time on it and your technicians get more familiar, it's great to come back to us and say, this would be better if you do this, because ultimately we want to provide that safe environment, but we want to provide it as efficient of operation as you can. And feedback from the field and from you guys is what really makes that happen.
Certainly.
I've seen other systems in the past, working my strong aviation background, maybe not your manufacturing company, but, the access to the roof, instead of going through that scuttle hole, for me as a safety professional, that's just so much nicer way to approach the top of the vehicle. You know, you've got a set of stairs, you got handrails, you know, you got a closing door or a closing gate behind you once you get up there. I mean, it's just, and then you hook up and you can go about your business instead of trying to put a ladder in, up to a scuttle hole and then, you know, getting hooked up to a harness and then going through the hole. You know, I've done it both ways and from a worker point of view and I'd much rather walk up a set of stairs and have the handrails. And, you know, I just see so much more versatility with having this equipment available.
Especially when you consider often you're going to be taking tools and parts with you. And that adds a whole another level of complication. If you don't have a stair access, can you get your tools and whatever you're carrying up on top there safely and get yourself there? So yeah, I can see where it would be really advantageous.
Absolutely. You're correct. They actually drag a ladder to the inside of the bus. Then they crawl up the bus and then somebody hands them the tools through the little opening in the roof. And I mean, it's a whole process. There's a 2-man process to do that. And then they got to hook themselves to the harness. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. So I can see time saving costs. I could see safety being affected here. And I see it coming. I'd love to give you guys feedback in the future of what we see. And I'm not afraid to do it.
We're open and inviting for you too. So yeah.
Okay.
Was there anything else you guys wish we would have asked or that you want to share with your experience and expertise in the maintenance of these new electric buses?
Time will tell what we're up against, but you know, for the electric side, I see it being a little bit cleaner on the mechanics because they don't have to worry about the diesel and the diesel engine mechanic. That's the one you see that, you know, you can always point him out in the crowd. He's the dirtiest amongst the group, you know. So you know, from a clean shirt standpoint, I see electric buses being a little bit better as far as the shop being cleaner and, you know, that type of thing. But it's, you know, it's going to be an adventure and a challenge. You know, I look at it as a growth aspect.
This has been so awesome listening to you guys. I've learned a lot, which is funny since we've been working together for 2 years. I learned so much. This is great. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
No
we
problem.
really appreciate your guys' time and all of your expertise.
Sure.
Glad to help.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. It was pretty painless. Appreciate it.
Good.
Yeah, well, thanks to all. I think this is a very good series, very good contribution to our knowledge bank here, and appreciate the time everybody puts into this to make it happen, especially, yeah, Ramesh, that's not shown here, but he's a key to driving this whole thing. It's a really great thing that I think Speak is doing for getting a lot of good information out to the world. So thanks to all of you guys.